Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today I am going to be using some Christmas products. So I'm using the Winter Birds, the Nest, the Winter Greenery, and then the stamp set is the Wonder of Christmas. Why am I using Christmas stuff? Well, because it's Christmas in July and there's a sale. So before we get too far into the video, in case you are just catching it on Sunday, it's only Friday through Sunday. I'm not posting this until Saturday. So it's 20% off everything in the Christmas category, but because Honeybee is fantastic and they also carry a lot of other things, in that sale, there's also distress inks, there's colored pencils, there's reinkers, there's sprays. So in addition to the Christmas things, there are also plenty of other things, which you guys know I'm a huge proponent of stocking up on those things when there is a sale. So there's no code needed. It's through Sunday at midnight. I believe it's Mountain Time. But I will link that below if you want to go over there and check and see if there's anything that you would benefit from. So to celebrate our Christmas in July sale, we are making a Christmas card. So I am doing kind of like a night sky-ish. That's what you see me doing here. And I'm going to do it darker at the top so that I can have like kind of a starry night and lighter at the bottom. This is just going to add a little bit of interest to the background. And I start with my lightest color, which is Salty Ocean. I did the whole background with that color. And then I'm working up to my darkest color. So from Salty Ocean to Blueprint Sketch to Chip Sapphire and then Black Soot. And then from Black Soot back down to that Salty Ocean, getting a blend, especially over a large, expansive area like our entire card background, it makes it more likely that your background is going to be splotchy. So doing it twice helps not only increase the saturation of your color, it also helps it so that you have a smoother blend. So I always do mine twice. And even if you're not using distress inks, if you're using any other inks for ink blending, I would still recommend doing it twice. So, we did Christmas for our live this week too. I would love to know how many of you guys are enjoying the lives or what feedback you have. I know my lives are a lot longer than Kelly Cahoots used to be. So mine are probably like an hour, hour and a half, whereas Kelly's were more like a half an hour. I can take constructive criticism, so please don't feel like you can't say. I would like to know, are they too long? Are they not long enough? Are you like, no, I'd just like to have the majority of the card done and then just pop in and see, a little bit of coloring maybe, and then the assembly. I genuinely would like to know. So in order to have a couple of different layers of stars, I am first splattering on just clean water. I'm using a number 2 round brush, so it's very small. And when I first get my brush wet, I'm kind of, tapping off the water onto just the glass mat so that the stars that I bring to the background are actually a smaller spray. So then I'm going to use some Perfect Pearls because I do love the shimmer and the shine. And so I'm going to mix some of that up with the water. Perfect Pearls bind with water, so I don't have to worry about them coming off after I put them on. And then I'm going to do some more stars with those. Again, I'm concentrating that more toward the top where that darker sky is. And then the last bit of stars I'm going to do, you could use white acrylic paint. Hero Arts also has like an acrylic spray that I've used as well. This is the Copic, what do they call it? It's like the white, why can't I remember the name of it? Does anybody know? I don't. I'll link it below. Anyway, it's like the Copic opaque ink. And then I mix that just with a very little bit of water because the more water you mix, the less opaque it's going to be, and I want to make sure that it's nice and solid. So now we're going to go into our die cutting. I'm die cutting all of the pieces for the cardinal. I am die cutting all of the pieces for the nest except for the branches. And then from the winter greenery, I am die cutting the branch and the berries and then the 2 pines, like the pine boughs, deck the halls with boughs, pine boughs. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever the answer is. You guys are probably like giggling, and that's totally fine. I would be laughing at me too. But anyway, pine branches. I did do several of those. So I cut 3, I think 3 of the berry branches and then 3 of each of the pine. And then I did cut extra berries because I like to be a little generous with my berries. So once I have separated them all out, that's what you see me doing here. I've separated out all of the pieces. Then I'm going to get into the coloring. Now, I know several of you are like, hey, I really like just cutting them out of colored cardstock. That's cool too. The card design would work whether you colored it or not. I just am a colorist and that's what I enjoy doing. So that's what I do. For the pine, I have chosen more of like a true green. And really this is like the easiest thing to color. We're just kind of flicking out from the center, and I'm trying to make sure I'm not super heavy-handed with my dark color. But really, that's all that I'm doing. And then I'm going to go right over that with the medium color. And then lastly, with the lightest color. And if there's any white area left, I'm just going to go ahead and fill that in. Now, I did feel like this kind of lost some of my darkness. So I am going to go back in with a darker color, just kind of like in between the pines and lay down some darker colors to help me have a little bit more dimension. And I'm going to do that for both of them. And I was happy with the way that those came out. So, as life goes, it's been okay. Like, as far as getting all of the kids' things done. My children have been very busy, which means my husband and I have been very busy. So, Jelly Bean did start her dance class and she loved it. At one point they were dancing around with like their little wands, and the look on her face was just pure joy. Like, she was so happy to be dancing with her little princess wand. She was so excited. So I'm sure that this is something that she's going to want to stick with for quite some time. It is the dollars. It is the dollars, but I'm glad that she is enjoying it. We do have to get, it's like a mix of different dances. So we do have to get tap shoes, which will be interesting to see how that goes. We have to go back to the card. So here with the branches, I am kind of doing the darker, like to the left-hand side, and then the mid-tone, and then the light color. For the nest, I'm going to treat these the way that I do any of the other lovely layers. And I am going to hold each layer in place while I kind of mark where the shadows need to be. Now, I do want to be very upfront about this. The nest doesn't necessarily go with this particular winter bird, because this particular winter bird is meant to be like sat on a branch or, something like that. But I decided to put them in the nest anyway because I thought that it would help the scene look a little bit more, like it had a little bit more interest. I did mess around with it a little bit, like trying to get him to sit in the nest how I wanted. And ultimately, I just accepted that maybe it wasn't going to be perfect. And that's okay. Because I don't think anybody's going to be looking at my Christmas card and being like, wow, that bird doesn't sit exactly how it is supposed to. They say, I don't know who the collective they is, but I've heard it my whole life, like that if you see a red cardinal, like it's somebody that has passed, that's letting you know that they're okay. And so my aunt, after my mom passed, she called me and was like, hey, I wanted to let you know that I was, talking, and I was praying, and, I was like, hey, I need to know that you're okay. And, that everything is the way that it's supposed to be. And she was like, and then I saw a red cardinal. So I know. And everybody is different in what they believe. And if that brings her peace, I'm happy for it. So I will be saving this one to send to my aunt because I think that she will greatly appreciate that. So I just wanted it to look a little bit different. But anyway, so Jelly Bean has to get tap shoes in her class. And then they told us originally, like, hey, just wear whatever, clothes that, are going to be comfortable. And then as soon as I picked her up from daycare to take her to class, the whole time she was like, I need a gymnastics suit to go to dance class. I need a gymnastics suit. And I was like, okay, somebody has clearly told her that she needs a leotard, but she doesn't know the name of it. So then after we did the class, I asked them, like, okay, we think that we're going to stick with it. She clearly loved it. We're going to come back. Like, what do we need? And so we need ballet shoes, but then we also need tap shoes. And she does need a ballet leotard and tights, which my condolences to her, because I'm glad that I came up in the era where nylons were like on their way out. I remember wearing them when I was younger, like tights and nylons and all those things. But as I've gotten older, I do not wear them because they're very uncomfortable and I don't want to wear them. So I'm a little sad for her, and I'm sad for me, especially since, we're doing the whole potty training thing. And so when she has to go potty in the middle of class, getting those tights out of the way is going to be a challenge. But nonetheless, she is thrilled about it. So then the other one has been doing his guitar lessons, doing his regular personal lessons and then doing his rehearsals with his band twice a week. Let's go back to the card. So here, I'm just doing the same thing. I'm laying down each layer and then I'm marking it with the lightest color for that section, which the lightest color for this is red because my cardinal is going to be red. And then this section of his face is actually going to be black, but the shadows are going to be red because they're on the bird. So I'm still going to continue to mark it with that R32. I'm not overly concerned about marking what is that face piece, like that face mask with where the beak will go, because it's going to be black. A black and a dark cool gray. So you're not going to be able to see really too much of a difference. So I'm not worried about marking the shadow there. For the tail feathers, they're the furthest back point, so they're definitely going to be darker there. I did leave some lightness at the edge of the tail where it's, really far away from the body. That's not really going to have as much shadow. And then for this section, again, where the feet and like the main belly of the cardinal are sitting is going to have shadows. So none of this white is peeking through. I'm going, around the edges with my red marker. This one it did take me a minute to kind of find a way to be happy with how it looked. So don't think that like if you're like, oh, I don't love it, that it's not fixable, because everything is fixable. So even though I didn't love the way that he was looking to begin with, I kept kind of playing around with the shading until I got something that I liked. So just push through, persevere, and maybe your break is going to need to be longer than what mine was. Maybe you're going to have to walk away for an hour and come back to it. Or maybe, when you're done crafting in the evening, you can let it sit overnight and come back to it. But if you're not happy with something, don't just pitch it. Be okay with coming back to it and seeing maybe how you can work it. So Peanut Butter has been doing his guitar lessons, and we did have to have a little bit of a conversation week before last that I was like, hey, we made this agreement that if we were going to do this, you were going to, be committed and take it serious because it is quite expensive. And he had not been practicing nearly as much as I guess that I expected him to be practicing. So we had a conversation everybody knew what the expectations were. And then from there, he did, practice a little bit more and stuff, but they give us email updates like every week for how the kids are doing. And so this week's email, I was super proud of him, and he should be super proud of himself. This week's email was like, hey, you guys have been, doing really good, and the songs are starting to come together, and they're playing like 3 or 4 songs. And so then when it came to one of the songs, which was an AC/DC song, like they were like, we managed to get through it a couple of times and it needs a little bit of tightening up, but it sounds really good. And then right underneath it, it was like, Nathan, you did really well. If you want the guitar solo in this song, like it's yours. So I was like, you should be really proud of yourself. I'm very proud of you. So, they didn't say he had to do it. They were like, hey, either way, if you're interested in it, great. If you're not, that's fine too. So I don't know how he's going to do, because he really does not like to be the center of attention. So I will be interested to see if he decides he wants to go for it or not. We will see, because they do have like performances. So if he chooses to do the guitar solo, he will be doing the guitar solo in his performance, which means there will be people present. But I have all the faith in him. I think that he would absolutely be able to rock it. So then, with all of the rushing around, because he has band now twice a week, and now we've added in dancing onto one of the days a week, that basically leaves Mondays and Fridays open for my husband and I in the evenings. And Mondays I do our Monday night premiere for Honeybee, which basically just leaves Fridays. And let's be honest, by the time anybody's getting to Friday, nobody wants to do anything. I mean, it's the end of the week, you're exhausted. So pretty much how we've been spending time as a family is getting into the pool. So here, this is another, like, I didn't love the way that it was looking. I felt like it needed a little bit more shading. So I just went back in, even though it was already put together, and laid down even more, darker color until I was happy with the way that it was looking. So don't feel like you have to, get it right the first time. You don't. You can still play around with it. Speaking of not getting it right the first time, I had been saving this little white piece because I thought that it was my bird's eye. And then I put it on there and I was like, this is way too big. This is way too big to be this bird's eye. So I have no idea what happened to the actual eye. I'm sure that I threw it away when I threw away all the negatives. So I just took that eye off and set it to the side. And then you can either put the eye in, like with a pearl or a gemstone, or in my case, I'm just going to use my white gel pen to put the eye back in. And nobody's going to know the difference. Like, he has his little eyeball and he's adorable. For the berries, I decided to do them red. I toyed around with doing them white. And in that winter greenery, there is a mistletoe branch that you could do like the white berries with the mistletoe. But I was like, I'm going to keep it super simple. I'm going to just do, the red, green, blue kind of color palette. And so I decided to do them red. I added shading to one side with the darkest color and kind of like a C shape. For the littler ones, I just did, darkest, mid-tone, lightest, kind of at a diagonal. For the larger ones, I did the darkest, but then when I did the mid-tone, I stretched it out over the darkest color, but then I kind of wrapped it around. So I made like a full circle around the edge. And then when I went in with the lighter color, I just went into the center to do the lighter color. So it gave us a couple of different looks. Here, I did not put the nest together before, so I need to do that now. And this, like that top piece, that top little, I don't even know what to call it, like the little top stick branch piece is the easiest way to line all of them up. So I just look for that particular piece. And then this one has, a little bit more of the interesting edges because you can put that detailed branch layer on top and line it up so that it looks even more dimensional. But I was pretty happy with that. For the branch and the berries, you can absolutely follow the layering guide. But I find it to be much more freeing to just sit down with my glue and my tweezers and put on as many berries as I want. Now, you can do it two ways. You can put the berries on first, like I am doing here. And then from here, once I have all the berries on that I want to have on, I am actually going to trim this. So I'm not going to leave it in its entirety. Like, I'm not going to use it as one full piece. I am going to trim it so that way I have more areas that I can tuck my little berries into. And this is obviously not realistic because you're not going to have a pine tree that has berries also growing off of it, but it is my card and I do what I want. So here I'm kind of, tucking them in how I want them to be, kind of spraying out from where the nest is. And then I am also putting a little bit of pine and berries in the bottom left-hand side to balance that design. Once I have everything kind of laid out where I want, I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to each layer and kind of pick them up so that they're a whole piece. So I'm adding glue to the bird to pick up the nest, and then I will add glue to the nest to pick up the branches that are behind it. Now, this isn't foolproof, and sometimes I do miss a branch or two. In this case, I think I only missed one of them. And you'll see when I flip it over, it does come up as one piece, but then that little piece just kind of comes off in my hand. So I'm just going to flip it over. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the stem of it, and then I'm just going to tuck it back where I originally had it, and that'll be enough to hold it. Once I have everything kind of where I want it to go, I'm not going to glue it down because I still want to tuck those berry branches behind. So for this pine one down here in the bottom left-hand corner, I am going to put the berries on top of it, so I'm not worried about gluing that down. This piece that is hanging over the edge, I am just going to refashion this to be another branch so that that section will be a little bit fuller. It keeps me from having to cut as many and color as many, to just trim them so that I can adjust where the fullness is. So the other way that you can do the branches besides this way, which is like gluing the berries, is you can just cut apart the berry branch, and then once you have the branch in place, then add your berries to it. I did it both ways. Either way works. So anyway, so my husband and I, once it gets to Friday, like we're pretty exhausted. However, we have been swimming regularly. So even on the days, we went swimming on Tuesday. Peanut had his guitar lessons, but that was the day that he was supposed to go to the movie with my sister, which unfortunately did not work out. She picked him up from guitar lessons and they went to go to the movie. And he, like his mother, unfortunately, gets motion sickness. And so I think that the route that they took had a lot of hills, and that was just kind of his undoing, which is a huge bummer. But we did find another showing a little bit closer to home, so I think they're going to try to go on a different day. But I know that, she was sad because she wanted to take him, and I felt bad for her. But anyway, that day we took Jelly Bean swimming because, he had somebody who was going to be, picking him up and taking him around. And then Wednesday we did not swim because we had her dance class. Thursday, we did go swimming because Peanut did have rehearsal, but he was with his dad. So we've been swimming on Thursday. We went swimming on Friday. Today we went swimming during the day. So lots and lots of swimming. I am using that as a workout since I'm having the issues that I'm having with my thyroid. Story for another video. I say that every time I bring it up, and I will tell you that story eventually. I promise you. But yeah, so that's pretty much how we've been walking every night. Sometimes we walk the dogs. If it's Molly, I have to just walk just a little bit, and then bring her home and then go back out to finish out my walk. Cause she still loves to walk. She does. She is super happy and jumps up and down for it. But she's old and she can't go as far. So for the sentiment, I chose a blue cardstock that is very similar to my background. I stamped that white heat embossed it and then cut it out with its coordinating die. I'm going to snug that in kind of to the bottom left of the bird in between the branches. Now this branch right here, I did not love the angle that it was coming out at, so I just picked it up and moved it kind of more of a downward angle. This only works because I'm going to cover up that area that I kind of picked it up from with my sentiment. Then I'm going to add some glimmer, and I'm going to add some white highlights with my gel pen. And then that is going to finish off the card. So, as you, I don't even know, can you guys hear the thunder? It was not supposed to rain today, but now all of a sudden it was like pouring buckets. So we were hopeful to get the kids back in the pool again today, but maybe not until later. So don't forget about the 20% off sale if you have some things on your Christmas list for making your cards this year. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.